This is the I Am Salt Lake podcast, showcasing local talent, professionals, and everyday people making Salt Lake City what it is today.
Hey, what's up, Salt Lake City? Welcome to episode 17 of the I Am Salt Lake podcast. My name is Chris Hollifield, and I'm going to be your host here. And today I'm recording in beautiful downtown Salt Lake City. First things first, if this is your first time downloading the episode or checking out our show, thank you very much for listening in and joining me on my journey of talking to everybody and anybody in Salt Lake City that's making a little bit of a difference and a little bit of waves and kind of helping Salt Lake City what it is today. Hop on over to emsaltlake.com. That's going to connect you with us. You're going to be able to check out all the previous episodes of the podcast, as well as getting in touch with us if you have any comments or suggestions. Also, if you notice, you can connect with us on iTunes. Hop on over to iTunes and leave us a review after you listen to the show. And tell me what you're thinking of the podcast. And that really helps people come into the show and discover it by leaving reviews and ratings on iTunes. Feel free to drop us an email, iamsaltlake@gmail.com. If you want to get on the show, if you want to be a guest on the show, if you have anything you want to tell us. So yeah, welcome to the I Am Salt Lake podcast. First things first, we're getting really close to the holiday season. I know a lot of people haven't really gotten there mindset-wise, but it is right around the corner. There's a few things I kind of want to challenge my listeners in doing. I want this holiday season, I want you to take a moment and think about where you're spending your money at. Try to spend it here locally in the Salt Lake City market and buying something from a local artist or a local craft store or a craft vendor, a craft fair, a local bazaar. There is a lot of events coming up that you can spend your money at wisely, instead of spending it at the big corporation, the big business, and a bunch of just crap that you don't need to be spending your money at. So this year, instead of wasting your day on Black Friday, I challenge you to support Small Business Saturday. You can find out more information about them at smallbusinesssaturday.com, as well as on Facebook on Small Business Saturday, all about supporting the small business. Local First here, Local First Utah is doing what they call Shift Your Spending Week, kind of focusing on shifting your money, spending it here locally, here in Utah, here in Salt Lake City. You're going to check out more information about that at localfirst.org. Okay, it really is important that we spend our money here locally in the Salt Lake City area. There is lots of awesome local artists and local boutiques, local handmade stuff that you can spend your money on, and your relatives and your family will probably really be grateful for the gift because they could tell you put a little more effort into that. So if you have any suggestions of places that you can shop at locally, feel free to let me know where you're shopping at and where you're spending your money here, because I'd like to hear some feedback and hopefully kind of have this continual discussion through the holidays. I mean, we got quite a few weeks before the holidays, and really try to make a difference and spend your money here locally. So, and that also actually goes for bands. I mean, you got kids, you got relatives that like any of the local musicians. Try to buy one of their CDs, buy a T-shirt, buy anything from the local bands, whether I've had them on the episode or not. I mean they're great. I mean, support our local Salt Lake City, our local Utah County music scene. I mean, we got some great musicians here, so check them out. So smallbusinesssaturday.com as well as localfirst.org. Okay, so anyways, again, this is the I Am Salt Lake podcast. I just want to tell you, if you like the project that we're doing here, we do have a donation button on our website that you can kick over any spare change over. Just hit that donate button and toss over $1 or $2 to kind of help keep the funds alive for this project. So anyways, on this episode, I had the opportunity to sit down with a local band, American Hitmen. I had a chance of sitting down in their tour bus right outside of Liquid Joe's before they played a show there this past weekend. I had a chance to talk to a couple of those guys, talk to them and get to know them and find out a little bit about their story. So it was a fun conversation. I hope you enjoy listening to it. Before I jump into the conversation, I want to play a song of theirs called "And Another Thing." It's one of my favorite songs of theirs, well, one of many that I enjoy of theirs. I'm going to be playing that here on the podcast for you to check out. And Another Thing, feel free to check them out at facebook.com/American Hitmen, as well as AmericanHitmen.com. I'm going to post all those links at emsaltlake.com so you can connect with them. So anyways, this is And Another Thing by American Hitmen. After the song is over, we're going to jump right into the conversation that I had with them this past weekend out at Liquid Joe's. guys down to get started here? Okay, so I'm here in the American Hitmen. This is your tour bus.
This is the bus.
This is the bus. We're outside of Liquid Joe's, and I'm talking with Tim. And remind me your name.
My name's Phil Snyder.
Phil Snyder. Just give me a little bit of I think you guys have a really cool story of how you've met. I've heard the story a few times, but feel free to. How did you guys meet?
So basically, my brother Dan, who plays guitar, we served in the Marine Corps together, and we met our bassist Jay while we were over in Fallujah, Iraq in 2004. And we were like, hey, let's start a band. We got home. We were with a different drummer at the time. It was also Marine, and we kind of fiddled around with it, but it wasn't. We were still in active duty in the Marine Corps, so there's not much you can do. And then we redeployed in 2006, and Charlie Daniels' band came out and did a USO tour. And my brother and I opened for his band, and it got a ton of press. It was a national publication that went to all the military bases, or international publication. And that's kind of when the band started taking off. And so we were out in San Diego, and we had the other drummer. And as we got toward our end date from active duty, which is 2007, it was in October, we decided, we're going to do this full time, or we're going to stay in the Marine Corps. And Jay, our bassist, and me and Dan all got out. Our drummer stayed in. And we moved from San Diego to Salt Lake City and put out an ad. We auditioned a bunch of drummers and found Phil. And since 2008, we've basically just been rocking out nonstop. And, we started from scratch, basically, because we made a name for ourselves out in San Diego with the Marines and all that kind of stuff. But it was kind of a different lineup, different sound. And so really, we only have been a band since 2008 because we started rewriting music with Phil and playing in Utah where nobody knew us. And so it was all a fresh start. So, since then, we've been just kicking ass.
So are you guys all originally from Utah then, or how did you get everybody to move to Utah?
No, actually, none of us are from Utah except for Phil. My brother Wes lived here, and we would come home on we'd come and hang out with him, go camping trips and stuff like that on long weekends in the Marine Corps. And Dan and I had lived here for like a couple years when we were kids, but not really from here. And we're mostly from Texas. And Jay, our bassist, was from Cortez, Colorado. But when we were done, we really decided that Salt Lake would be the best hub to be in a band. And the reason for that is because in San Diego and LA, you have so many bands that it's hard to make a name for yourself. And they don't really care if you're good. They basically just care if you can make money. And so when we moved here, it was more of like the big fish in small pond rather than small fish in huge pond out in San Diego. So we figured Salt Lake would be a good hub. It's 8 hours from any major city like Denver and Vegas and Boise and stuff like that. So we all just decided, try something new, move here. It's cheap to live here.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's mellow. And I know that the music scene isn't thriving like it is in other major cities like LA and stuff. So I think that's why we've done so well, actually. Moving to Utah was the best thing we ever did for our band, actually. And we wouldn't have had Phil and all that kind of stuff. So
you played, Phil plays drums.
Right.
And you're lead singer.
I play rhythm guitar and piano.
And how many other guys total do you have?
Two other guys.
Two other guys.
Dan, my brother, he plays guitar and he sings backup vocals, and then Jay just plays bass.
How is that playing with a family member?
It's awesome.
Is that pretty cool?
It is, yeah. Like we get onto each other just because, you're siblings, but it's nice because you don't have, like, we've been playing together since I was like 12, and so when certain things change on stage, if we make a song a little bit longer, like, we can jive off each other really well. Our harmonies are perfect because we sound exactly the same, and our writing style is very much the same, and so it helps. You might want to ask Phil.
Yeah, that's one thing I've noticed about, I've never been in a band, that had brothers in it, but yeah, there's a chemistry that between the two that, it's pretty unmistakable, and they since they've been together forever, they sing so well together, and
Who's older?
My brother Dan is. It's nice though because when you're in a band with basically strangers, we didn't know Phil before we were in a band. We knew Jay for a while, but it's kind of hard to tell somebody their idea sucks, or they're not doing well, or they get too drunk on stage or something like that without it causing a rift. But when you have a brother,
that's normal, man. You can tell them whatever you want.
Yeah, pull your head out of your ass, or no, that song sucks, or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's stuff like, it really keeps you grounded. And I really enjoy playing with Dan because, I'm proud of him every time we play shows because he's so good at guitar. Like, it's ridiculous. And I look over and that's all he's ever wanted to do is be a musician. Same with me. So
real good showman too. Both those Tim and Dan. They really make the show entertaining for people because let's face it, Jay and I aren't the most animated people, but So it's good that Tim and Dan take that kind of stuff to make the shows entertaining for everybody.
Sorry. Oh no, you're all right. Anyways, interrupted by fans, I guess. Right?
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about your sound.
Okay.
For let's say somebody who hasn't heard, which I'm sure plenty of people tuning in haven't heard you guys. How would you describe your sound?
It's
you hear a lot of comparisons and gosh, I guess cultish. You know, the cult maybe a little bit, and I'll hear a lot of comparisons to bands I don't know anything about. So there's that. But I think it's maybe a little bit classic rock with an edge. I always kind of compare us to Aerosmith a little bit. Not that we sound like Tim sounds like Steven Tyler or anything like that, but that kind of vibe in the music, you know.
Rock and roll,
straight ahead rock and roll, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's what I would say.
Yeah,
I was just
rock and roll. No, not hard rock, not alternative rock, just straight up rock and roll. Like we mix like piano, we mix strings, we mix ballads and stuff like that, and it doesn't ever feel awkward. It doesn't ever feel like a complete departure. And a lot of that comes from we all have very, very diverse musical tastes, and you get pigeonholed with a lot of bands that only listen to death metal, only listen to this, and so that's all they're able to write. But you have us, like I'm a huge Radiohead fan, and I actually listen to tons of different kind of music, all the way down to mellow. Phil's really big into the 80s, like prog rock, like Rush and
power metal, baby.
Power metal. And my brother Dan is just straight up classic rock, and then Jay, he just has a very, very diverse sound. Like when we first met him, he was real big into Dave Matthews and Sublime and stuff like that. And so when we come together and write, I'll write a song on the piano, and then we'll add a hard rock edge to it, and then but I'll still leave the piano line.
4 different spheres of influence impacting the song. So I mean, It's not like it doesn't get boring because not everybody's, it's not always the same thing. There's different
who writes most of the lyrics, or is there kind of a conglomeration? Or
I write mostly all the lyrics. Like Dan will write some lyrics, but I'm a real big English language guy. Like I'm huge about grammar, and
Tim talks good, so I
speak
writes
very well. So
did you go to school for like English or grammar?
No, but it was just something I really excelled in. I'm an avid reader, and I do New York Times crossword puzzles all the time, just in my off time. So
wow,
like when we write, in the studio. But when we write, we avoid swearing at all costs. Like we have one song where I say shit just because it's about kicking a girl out of the house, and just be like, pack your shit and take off. But for the most part, we don't swear in our music at all. We use the English language too.
Is there a reason why? I mean,
it gets intrusive after a while, and you also alienate certain fans. And one thing about us is, and if you look at us on iTunes, it says fans who bought this music also bought Bruno Mars, Megadeth, Metallica, Justin Bieber, and like we cater to a very diverse crowd that normally probably wouldn't like hard rock because it is approachable music. A lot of our fans are kids of parents that saw us at a show, and then the parents brought a CD back and stuff. So it's not like we purposely have a clean-cut image. I just don't see any other reason to not have one. It's like
that's a good way to not get your stuff played on the radio too. If there's a bunch of F-bombs or whatever in there. I mean,
no, you're right. You're right. I mean, I've never been big like with what I'm doing. I've never really cared about that, but I do agree. I think it makes it so certain people might not that would normally.
Yeah, and you don't ever want somebody to, like we play day festivals, all ages shows. You don't ever want to say something in a song and then have parents be like, nice guys, thanks for saying that in front of my kids. Stuff like that, It's like, especially too, all being Marines, the clean cut image, as much as you can have with tattoos and stuff like that, but I guess the clean cut in a way of like the way you deal with people. We're all very polite. And so we exude that politeness also in the song. It doesn't mean we don't have questionable material in our songs, but I word things that are more vague and more innuendo than anything.
Yeah.
And
that makes for good lyrics too. I think there's a time and a place for the straightforward things, but I always like things that were a little bit, like Tim said, vague or left open to interpretation. They can mean a couple things maybe, and.
No, I agree. I think when people just say certain words, it's like, okay, that's not very creative.
Hey, maybe you're hot. It's like, well, come on, man. Let's just be a little more creative than that.
I mean, I use a lot of descriptive language when I'm talking about things. And the reason I do that, too, is because when I write a song, I don't want people to just hear it and be like, well, I don't identify with that at all. I like to leave things pretty vague and use descriptive words to make it so, because we have people that come up and say, I love your song Blackened. I know it's about a sniper, and it's totally not. It has nothing to do with it.
It's about that movie, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I don't want to piss on somebody's idea of what they think the song's about. If I touch them in some way where they like our music, it can be about whatever they want it to be about.
If that's what it's about to them, then that's what it's about. Right?
So, I don't know.
So what are your songs? I mean, mostly. I mean, or is it kind of up to interpretation? Or?
A lot of the music. I'm a huge cinephile. I love movies, and I thoroughly enjoy the stories that are being told, and when people can tell a good story. And so a lot of time I'll write songs about movies, but I write it in a way that unless you saw the movie, you would have no idea that it was about a movie. It's just a cool story. And then we write personal stuff about war. We were all in combat together, and so. And we make a joke between the band members that we're the only band with confirmed kills, but I mean, like, it's a way, music is a huge way to release basically the stress where most people coming back from war wouldn't have the ability to express themselves like that, For us, we write, it's pretty diverse, Some things are about hot chicks, some songs you just kind of write a song to sound cool that people will like, and it's just a straightforward.
Yeah, there's definitely not a
theme or something.
Yeah, well, there's themes, but there's not the same theme for every song. Yeah. Like Tim said, some of it's about past relationships, some of it's about movies, some of it's about being creepy, right?
Yeah.
Some of it's about nothing and, just kind of like imagery maybe.
What's been the biggest challenge, do you think, as a band? What's been your biggest challenge?
I honestly think just getting people to accept you as a new band in town, and really you go and you play, and it's like a marketing thing where we have it all the time. We say, come to the show. We're playing a show, and people always have friends in bands, and their friends always suck, in their mind, and so they're like, oh, God damn it, I don't want to go waste my night on a band. And then once you actually do get them out to see us, they're like, Jesus, you guys are really good. And so it's that first step where you have to, like, basically get your name out there and be like, no, we are dead serious about this. We got to get our name out there. But the thing that we've done since day one with Phil is we rarely turn down shows. Like, we'll play shows for free. We'll do charity events. We'll play birthday parties. Yeah. And we do it because it really gets your name out there to certain crowds. Like, we'll play at barbecues for some people for like a housewarming party. And they'll pay us, but it's like, we always hear from people be like, man, I would have never gone to that bar to see you guys, but you guys are fantastic. When's your next show?
Yeah, I think there's going to be a bunch of people here tonight. We played a party a couple weeks ago that not really the type of people that, I don't know, would normally come to see us, but they see us at the party and bam, all of a sudden they're requesting 100 tickets for tonight. So something like that, just off of playing one party that was kind of a fluke thing and that we decided to do, so it could turn into, you never know who's going to be out there too.
So you mentioned, you played in San Diego. Have you guys done any other tours, or do you have any tours coming up? Or?
Well, right now we're trying to set something up to go to Holland and Germany and Czech Republic and stuff like that. And it's going to be self-funded because until people know you, they're not going to spend money on you.
Yeah.
But back in 2009, we were contacted by the Hard Rock Cafe out in Vietnam, Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam. And they were looking for an American rock band because they've never had rock music out in Vietnam. We were the first American rock band to play there in 36 years since the war. And
this is in Vietnam, you said?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And they wanted to kind of bridge the gap between American rock and roll and all the poppy crap that they've had out there. And what happened was they saw us, they heard our story, and they thought, what better way to bridge the gap of bringing American rock and roll back than a band made up of Marines. And the last time they had people there was when the war, happened. So we went out to Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam.
For 7 weeks.
Went out there for 7 weeks, and we played as a house band.
6 nights a week,
mostly all our stuff, in a communist country that had never heard rock music before. And so we played, Run DMC came out there, and we played on stage with Run DMC and did the Walk This Way, like Aerosmith did. But the thing is we were bigger over there than Run DMC was. And so
Why was that? I mean, why were you bigger?
Because they had never heard of an American rock band before, so they automatically see, they're like, oh, you got to see this. And so they actually changed the lineup for the grand opening night, which was like red carpet event, really expensive. Everyone who's in Vietnam was there. And they changed it so where his set would end with us playing, and then we would or playing with him on stage, and then we would actually take the night and headline it.
Yeah.
And so that was a huge thing, and that was huge for our career, basically, because everyone back here saw us and was like, well, Jesus, those guys are going to Vietnam. That's pretty cool. And we did Hard Rock, and then we went back to, they opened a Hard Rock Cafe in Macau, China, which is a little island off of Hong Kong, in 2011. And we went there for a month, went back to Vietnam. And so we have a pretty internationally diverse crowd. Like our website, AmericanHitmen.com, gets an average of 40,000 hits a month, and the majority of those are from China and Vietnam. I mean,
wow.
People buy our shit all the time. They download everything, and it's like, because when we were in Vietnam, like we threw in Hey Jude at the end of one of our sets just to play, because we were playing for like 4 hours a night, so we threw in some covers. And they asked us where Hey Jude was on the album. And I said, no, it's a Beatles song. And they were like, oh, I've never heard it. And like they just they just didn't know anything.
Music. They just didn't know. They just wanted to eat it all up. They just,
yeah.
And I mean, everything we played was amazing. And so like they would come up and they'd hand you requests for like Whitney Houston, because all they knew was pop music.
Yeah.
And so they don't really get that there's a, like, we write our own stuff. You know, we'll throw in a cover every now and just keep people interested. But, you know, we'd play, like, we played Hotel California, and they're like, oh, I've heard that. You guys wrote that. That's really cool. And we're like, no, we didn't write that. But, you know, like, this is music. And so it went over so well that, you know, we went back again, and it was just friggin' amazing.
I wouldn't mind going back again for a couple more weeks, because it's just a great experience, you know. And I mean, I don't know any other bands that have had the opportunity to go to Vietnam and play, you know, an extended run, or even one show for that matter. But
even enormously huge bands don't go to Vietnam. It's like you can't go there. They just don't bring American rock in. So
you guys have, you mentioned 2 albums then, or 1 album?
Yeah, we have 2 albums. We did one in 2009, and it was kind of a conglomeration of songs that we'd written before, and then some new shit we wrote with Phil. So it wasn't really Phil's baby, and you can kind of tell on the tone of the album that it's not like, I mean, he digs the music, obviously made it his own, but it's not really like a collaborative writing effort with Phil.
Well, a deal like that is, I listened to what was done before drum-wise, and kept it more or less simple and true to what was done before. Things are different if I'm around when the song's being written, so, you know, then I'm there while it's being molded and throwing in my input, and my drum parts are a lot different that way. And obviously depending on the music, but like the best songs for me are ones that the drum part kind of writes itself in my head, and you know, we would start jamming it a little bit, and you can just feel what works, and I don't have to think about a part, I don't have to like try to write it. It's like, this is how it needs to be, and
you don't have to fill the shoes of the previous guy.
And so I, you know, as far as the first album goes, I only changed a couple things and just kept kind of things straightforward and how they were before. The second album, I got to be a little more, I don't know, it was more my style. I didn't do anything crazy or anything, but it's still, I don't know, just...
You can hear a complete difference. Like, the music genre, if you're not a musician, you probably wouldn't really care that much, but for us and for people that are actual music lovers, they can hear the energy is different on our second album that we released in 2011 called Soundtrack of Violence. That basically was the first album where all the songs were written as the group as you know now, and so it was like it sounds a lot different. And like the first album we had a song called Inanimate Objects. It's our most famous song, and I wrote it by myself. I wrote all the parts, and then we kind of added it as a band, and I licensed it to the show Gossip Girl, and then Vampire Diaries used it as well. So we have an international...
Wait, so you guys have a song that plays on those shows?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and we have...
not that we watched them, but we were told this. So.
No, I mean...
hey, you know what? I mean, take it...
You actually came out... You found the clip where it was on, so...
Yeah, we posted
it online.
We know
it was actually on there,
Terrible acting.
Just one episode, then?
What it is they license it, they can
use it as often as they want.
Yeah, and so we got a heads up, basically, hey, episode 4 of season 2 of Vampire Diaries, your song's predominantly featured in that episode. So then after that, every DVD sale that we get, every time it's played...
and who got that for you? Like, I did. You got that?
I do all the business for the band.
Wow.
We don't have a manager, a booking agent, anything. I do
all of
it.
Do you think that, I mean, the internet, obviously, Facebook and all that, Twitter and all that, it makes it so more accessible, I think.
That's exactly why you could be a band in Salt Lake or Iowa or wherever and still get your stuff out all over the place. You know, you don't have to be in LA anymore.
It's tireless marketing, though. Like, it really, like, you see it and just be like, oh, it's not just like calling up and booking shows. And like the band, especially doing the business side, is a full-time job, and you have to convince people that you're worth a shit, basically. And so like getting a song picked up by Gossip Girl was huge, because I went like tirelessly back and forth over contracts. They sent out a contract that basically we would lose all the rights to the song, and like me, without any law history, read it and was like, no, this isn't good, and sent it back, and risk them saying, well then fine, fuck you.
Yeah, we won't use it.
But they loved it so much, so it's like the business for me is a full-time job. It really is. And
then on top of you have another full-time job, I'm sure,
Yeah,
or no?
yeah.
Okay, yeah. See, so that's... Yeah.
But it's worth it to me.
Yeah.
It's worth it to play shows like tonight and not have to go and pay 15% of whatever we make to a manager that I could have done the same thing that they did anyway. You know? So it's like I don't know, the business is a huge part of it, and I think actually that would be the hardest thing as being in a band. It's just marketing yourself, trying to convince booking agents that you're even worth them paying you money. Like we did a couple shows in Texas and no one's ever heard of us, and I went back and forth in contracts and everything and got it actually so it would pay for our trip and we'd have a salary. But I mean, it's not easy, and it's not easy being a rock band in a sea of rock bands and trying to make a name. But it's really kind of goes back to the English language thing too. It's if you can write an email or contact somebody and be eloquent and not just like, hey, book us a show, fucker, stuff like that. So it helps.
Well, awesome. I didn't know that about Gossip Girl. I'm gonna have to go watch that show. show now.
No, you don't need to watch it.
I'll get my wife. Hey, come on, let's go watch Gossip Girl.
Watch the clip on YouTube and you'll be good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, anyways, I appreciate you guys sitting down with me and talking. Is there anything that we might have missed? You can find your albums on iTunes and Spotify,
Pandora Radio,
and I'm going to put the links for all your stuff on the IamSaltLake.com website, so that way people can hit back with you, add you as a friend or become a fan on Facebook. I guess. And check you guys out. Do you have any shows coming up in the next few weeks?
We have a bunch. Our biggest show is going to be November 21st at the Depot in downtown. Okay. We're opening for Royal Bliss.
Okay.
And that's a huge show. It's an annual show they sell at the Depot every year. And so that's a huge one, November 21st. And
December 15th at the Deer Hunter with them again.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you can find out about all those on your website, too.
AmericanHitmen.com.
AmericanHitmen.com.
November 17th at the Green Pig.
Yeah, we're playing a show at the Green Pig. But
how is that place for shows? I've never been there.
It's chill.
We did it once. Yeah, it's more mellow. It's not like here. Yeah. It's but people are. It's the built-in crowd, which is nice. So we're not at the. They don't expect us to bring 50 or 80 people down.
And everybody sits down.
There, being mellow. We play. It's not. We don't go full blast there, but we're probably a little louder than what they're used to. But it's still, we tone it down a little bit. But we're versatile enough to do that.
Yeah.
So I mean, we played there before, and they were more than willing to have us back. So
any favorite Utah bands that you like to play with? I guess Royal Bliss.
I love the guys in Bliss are great guys.
Yeah.
And then Kiss Me Kill Me, fantastic up and coming band from Provo. And they have a violin player, and so it's like Incubus with a violin. It's really cool.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
we played with a lot of bands, and one that I don't know, I kind of like Missing Method. We played with them a couple times.
Missing Method is fantastic. But the biggest thing for us is with bands is if they're not dicks, and you meet a lot of people who think that in order to be in a rock band you have to be an asshole.
Yeah.
And we pride ourselves on the fact that we aren't, and that's a huge for us. We appreciate every fan that comes every show. We remember names. We email people and say hey, what's going on? We get to know the people that are basically paying for our living. I mean, making a living for us. And we've played a lot of bands that although they're talented, they don't connect with the crowd, and they think the crowd is more of a burden that should be there, anyway. And it's like you really do have to work for the crowd's affection. So that's one of the things that we look for when we look for other bands to play with, is we see how they interact with people, how they interact with us, if they're not assholes when they get paid at the end of the night and all this kind of stuff. So,
well, cool.
Yeah.
Again, thank you very much, American Hitmen.
Yeah,
you're welcome.
You guys are gonna,
you
guys are an awesome. You guys got some awesome tunes.
Thank you very much. We're gonna debut a new one tonight. So,
oh, awesome! I'm looking forward to it, cool. And thank you very much.
All right, man.
Thank you so much, American Hitmen, for taking a few minutes out of your time to tell me your story and sitting down with me before your show there at Liquid Joe's. Anyways, you can connect with them at AmericanHitmen.com. That's going to you're going to be able to check out all their shows coming up, as well as download and purchase any of their music. They got all that information at AmericanHitmen.com. Connect with them as well on Facebook at Facebook.com/American Hitmen, as well as Twitter. You know what? I'm going to put all those links over at emsaltlake.com. That way you could check out all the links as well as all the previous episodes of the podcast. Hey, also check us out on iTunes. Do a search for I Am Salt Lake. Leave us a review and tell me what you think of the show. Anyways, that's going to do it until Sunday. I'm going to be back on Sunday with a brand new episode of the I Am Salt Lake podcast, showcasing another individual or another professional making a difference here in Salt Lake City, making the city a little bit better. So until then, remember, IamSaltLake.com, I Am Salt Lake podcast. Tell a friend. Please send me an email, IamSaltLake@gmail.com. Hey, you guys have a good day.